right, guys, we are back this week with another Impossible Moments episode, and I'm very excited to share this episode with you guys. This is a totally new individual, new community I've never spoken to before, but I'm very excited to learn more about what he's doing, because specifically what he is involved in with Skool is he's helping believers discover their identity and learn to lead with purpose. He is a pastor, he's a Maxwell Leadership Coach, and he's an author of his own book called Affirm Your Greatness. And that is Mr. Dennis Mbogori. And man, I appreciate you being here today. You've got your own Skool community called Affirm Your Greatness, named after your book, I assume.
Yes.
Let's dive into it, man. What brought you to Skool? How did you get here? And what is it you're hoping to help people find?
Well, I found Skool through, believe it or not, lots of YouTube videos that kept popping up on my feed. But actually, prior to that, I joined a community by Russell Brunson, the ClickFunnels guy. He had an offer, a program called Offer Vault, I believe. And to get into the program, you had to join through his Skool platform. So he was actually the first Skool platform, Skool membership that I signed up for.
Okay.
And that got me onto Skool. But then I think soon after I did that, Skool just started showing up on my YouTube feed and on my Facebook page. I'm like, oh, what is this Skool issue all about? So that's how I wound up here. So a lot of Alan Hamilton's videos on YouTube about Skool, Emily, a lot of Facebook ads kept popping up on my feed about Skool. And since I hadn't actually used a lot of my Maxwell coaching on the outside, apart from in my school, church circle, I decided, well, maybe this is the opportunity I get to put my expertise out there in the world in a smaller scale as I scale up. So,
that's an incredible journey, man. And I think it's similar to how a lot of us get on Skool, you know, especially with mainstream social media today. It's a tough market. It's a very tough market to be in. And beyond that, it's not even just the challenge of the market, but to get a true, genuine, authentic message into that space is very challenging because of how short form, attention grabby, algorithm driven it is. As creators, we had to play this like balance of catering to the algorithm while still trying to stay true to our message and actually be able to convey our message in extremely short form. And that's quite challenging. So I think Skool is a really cool platform because it can be long form, it can be short form. There's no algorithm you're catering to. You build a community entirely of your own, with your own culture, your own set of values, and you can communicate your message through there. And that is really powerful. We've not had that in a long time for social media, and it's really driving this authentic human connection, which I think is incredibly powerful. And when I listen to some of the world's leading experts on AI talk, they say that's the one thing that they don't believe AI will ever be able to truly, genuinely replicate is authentic human connection. So they believe that that's going to be one of the most valuable assets, one of the most valuable skills moving into this age of AI. So talk to me, man, because I know your faith is very, very important for you. You're a pastor, and you help others build that same faith up in their own lives to help lead themselves and lead others going forward. Has faith always been a part of your life? Is it something that came to you along the way, along the journey? What has your faith journey been like?
Started way back in high school, first year of high school back in 91, when back home in Kenya. I'm from Kenya originally, as you can tell from my thick accent. So back in high school in Kenya, unlike here, faith and wildlife is kind of all integrated. So in my high school, there was a club, a society that will meet after school. And on one of these occasions, I'm still in my first year of high school, one of my classmates drags me to this meeting. He's like, hey, you need to come to this meeting and see what we're doing. And then lo and behold, I get there, find a group of weird believers. So I thought, and then the next thing I know, I sat down, enjoyed the meeting. Before I knew it, I, I was one of the flock. And actually, interestingly, I started preaching while in high school. So
Mm.
I received my calling right about then. Started serving in youth groups at my local church, and finished high school. Went into college, still in Kenya. My dad didn't want anything to do with with the church stuff. I kept telling him, hey, well, I want to be a pastor. He's like,
Mhm.
well, I don't want poor children in my homes. So he pushes me into computer science. So I enrolled for computer science in college. Did about 2 years of that before our family relocated to the US. So when we got here, and then the whole culture shock, the adopting to a new place, I eventually was able to change my major back to theology and biblical studies. So I enrolled in college here in Atlanta, 2002, graduated in 2006, got ordained a month later, and started my church uh, shortly just before COVID, 2018. And
Oh, wow. What
so,
was that time like? That had to be quite the challenge starting up a brand new church environment right as COVID's beginning.
yeah, it was a very interesting scenario because, prior to that, very few people are doing Facebook Lives or online meetings. But then COVID shows up, everything shuts down, including the space where our church was meeting. So everything moved online. So we had to kind of learn quick. We started doing streaming our services on Facebook Live, and now we have been on there ever since. So even though we are back into in-person meetings, we still stream our services, and that kind of also helped me overcome this phobia of getting online and being on camera, because now I was basically on camera 52 weeks in a year, every Sunday. So, and now here I am doing video podcast. I try to avoid them as much as I could, but with the way things worked out and the way the world shifted, you know, a lot of in-person meetings, especially in the speaking space, kind of dwindled. Everyone went back into virtual summits, virtual meetings, and now we have a platform like Skool that is now condensing things like Kajabi. You can have your course material inside a Skool platform. You can host your courses. You can have a community. You can have dialogue with your members, like almost in real time, and get feedback on your material. Know what you need to change. Even in your teaching mechanism. So yeah, things have definitely shifted, but I believe for the better.
Yeah, and you know what I love about that is you took what so many people in the world at the time, did and would have viewed as an immense challenge, a reason to not start, a reason to not keep going on, and you found opportunity in it. You looked at it and said, "Okay, what can we do here?" You can do things like video calls, like diving into some of the technology that's available, like Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and start running services through there. And now that's become a pretty gold standard practice. But because you embraced that challenge and kind of leaned into it and figured out what can we make happen in the face of this, you were able to get kind of an edge on that and dive
Yeah,
into a whole new world of preaching before it became mainstream. And I think
yeah,
that is such a powerful skill whenever we can approach a challenge, especially what seems to be a crushing negative challenge in with that
yeah,
kind of perspective. What was it that
definitely.
led you to being able to approach that challenge that way?
Well, back in going back to my college here in Atlanta, um, and getting into leadership, one of my textbooks was the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell.
Mhm.
It was one of our class texts for the leadership course. So we go through it, and towards the end of the textbook, I actually have it here. Uh, he mentions about having a coaching program, a leadership training program that is ongoing beyond just the one book. And so I checked into it, started listening to his YouTube material, and around 2016, I enrolled into his program, uh, which was self-paced. It helped that it was self-paced, so I was able to, go to work because I'm bivocational. I preach on Sundays, but Monday to Friday, I'm out here working. And so I'll go to work in the evening, come and do his material. Eventually got certified in Orlando. And but then shortly after that, I was like, okay, I'm not John Maxwell, I'm not Tony Robbins. I already have this self-perceived handicap. I'm like, okay, who's gonna listen to this foreign-sounding guy with a difficult to pronounce name? And so I kind of sat on it. And then lo and behold, Skool comes up, and I'm like, okay, maybe this is a way to dip my toe into the coaching arena and teaching arena, and put my expertise and my skills out there. And it has actually worked out for good. I've met people that I would not have met otherwise, because Skool is worldwide. I've met you. Uh, I was on a podcast a couple of weeks back uh, with another community, a Skool community member, and I think it will be going live today actually. And so that that being able to connect across cultures, getting to hear other people's perspective. Like in your case, I saw you are an endurance runner kind of thing. So you see, this will not have happened if something like COVID will not have hit the world. So and kind of pushed people into another form of meeting, communicating, and expanding your world.
Yeah, yeah, I agree, man, 100%. That's a very powerful testimonial. So what is it? Because I know leadership is, as you mentioned, is such a core foundation of what you do. What does an ideal leader look like to you? Like the people who are in your group, what are you helping them to become essentially?
Uh, Most of them are leaders in their own right.
Hmm.
Some of them even have their own Skool communities. Some are running their businesses. And the approach that I decided to take with my group, when I initially wrote the book Affirm Your Greatness, it was more, I would say, more secular based, more scientific, in terms of the power of positive affirmation, and uh, dealing with negative self-talk and all that. And so when I started my group, I kind of decided to pivot it a little bit and merge with my faith, my pastoral experience. And so it became not just the power of positive affirmations, but positive affirmations with scripture. And uh, even though some of the members were not exactly faith-based as such, but because I'd already put it out there that this is what this community is about, and we are still dealing with mindset issues, leadership skills, and how to now integrate your faith and leadership into what you're doing in the marketplace, in your places of work, in the business you're running, in the Skool communities you're operating, because you still do need some leadership skills. I believe even more when you're doing this kind of deal, interacting with people across the globe, people with varying experiences, uh, some older, some younger, some with very varying backgrounds in the military, in sports, entertainment, and getting to hear how they have navigated those arenas, and how leadership, first starting with yourself, leading yourself, leading your families, and your smaller, core group of friends, and your spots of influence, whether it's on social media, whether it's on school, and how to integrate that into what you do on a day-to-day basis. And so far, even though we are still a small community, people have embraced the message, and they have, started sending referrals my way, because they enjoy the atmosphere, and I allow them to also, I get to hear from their perspective and from their life experience, business experience, what they have gone through, and how they were able to overcome certain challenges. So even as we're dealing with issues like negative self-talk and self-doubt, how they manage to deal with that in their spaces.
Yeah, dude, I love you said that. So I actually give a strategic leadership presentation to various groups, and the number one rule that I have in there, I've got 5 rules for leadership. The number one is lead yourself. So the second I heard you say, I was like, yeah, man, he gets it. And it's unbelievably true, because if we don't put ourselves in the best possible position to lead, if we don't make ourselves into the best possible example of what a leader is, we cannot hope to serve our team at the highest level, not even close. And I also think there's a strong biblical tie to that as well, because Christ put himself in the very best possible position to lead. He was always the example. He was always the teacher, and not that he was infallible either. There was still that human side to him, but when there was failure, it was openly recognized, it was openly acknowledged, and then it was remedied. And that, I think, builds more trust, more loyalty as a leader than about anything else we do. But I think it's such a hard thing for us to grasp, such a hard skill for us to build, because we think that, oh, if I'm the leader, I've got to be in charge all the time, and nothing I say or do is wrong, and everybody has to listen to me. And that approach just never works. But I do think that's kind of where our instinctual leanings are. So how do we work to, I guess, maybe overcome some of this ego drive that we have, or at least gain better control of it, and then learn to lead ourselves and get to a place where we can openly acknowledge the times where we fail, the times where we mess up, and then remedy those and be that example for the team of exactly who we want them to become?
Thank you for that question. One thing that I learned as I was going through the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership, John Maxwell begins like, most of us approach leadership as the way we approach our employers. So the managers and the directors in our places of work and business, where everyone is just talking down at you. You go do this, do that, do this. No questions asked. But when now it comes to proper leadership, even when you are dealing with a team of people, so to speak, that are under you create a dialogue environment, so that even if I, as Dennis, have made a mistake, they're able to approach and say, hey, we love what you're doing, but something that you did or something that you said didn't come out well. And so giving people that opportunity to come and actually have a dialogue, it shows that you are human, but you're also approachable. And once people are able to do that, you're also elevating them to be able to step into their leadership spaces, because, well, in terms of employment, not everyone stays with the same employer for life. People are stepping into business and other ventures. And when you're able to equip others, even though they will be with you maybe for a limited time, when they go on to something else and do greater things, they will be attributing to the experience they had with you, what they learned, the experiences they were able to accrue. And so creating that dialogue, not having a top-down kind of thing, but having a more or less horizontal relationship in terms even of leadership will help a lot in a lot of organizations, and even in the faith arena, even in the church. As much as I'm the senior pastor, doesn't mean that my congregation is beneath me, because these are adults, people with families, people with their own businesses and places of work. So when they come to me as their pastor, even as much as they're asking for advice, I have to acknowledge their experience, what they've been able to achieve in life, and how can we merge these together and move in one direction.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that, man. And it's I think you're absolutely right. We can't view, even though there's a chain of command, we can't view leadership as this hierarchy structure where you as the leader have your team below you and you were above them or you were better than them in some way. It's actually, like, I always think the best form of leadership is through service, because we can't look as if we're making our team members do things. We've got to look at it as rather that we're helping them build themselves to become their highest potential. And that's so much more of a driving approach for the leader to have, and it's also so much more of a driving approach for the teammate to have as well. And it creates a much more dynamic, collaborative environment. You're absolutely right. The communication piece is huge, and this is something where I see a lot of leaders stumble at the communication piece, because I think so many of us would just want to assume that everybody on our team can see our vision, and that
Yeah.
we would want to assume that they just understand why we're doing what we're doing, or we would want to assume that they just know about the ideas or the decisions we're making. And it's often not always true. Everything will be questioned. And I think one of the best things we can do as leaders is give answers up front, give answers ahead of time, explain, hey, this is what we've got to do, and this is why we've got to do it. And then be open and receptive enough that if there are questions about it, like, yeah, but what about this piece over here? We can look at it and say, okay, I hadn't thought about that. Or we can say, yeah, I had considered that, but this is why I think we need to do this instead. Creating that open dialogue and just a safe space for that dialogue is huge, because I think there's nothing worse than a leadership environment where somebody feels controlled, constrained, restricted, like they don't have a voice, like they're not important. I think that's kind of a recipe for disaster in the world of leadership.
Definitely. And tagging along with that, and coming back to the faith piece, even with Jesus, as much as he is Lord and Messiah, the crew that he had around him were fishermen, tax collectors, people that were running their own enterprise before they came and joined his team. And for the first few years, they were trying to see, okay, how do we fit in? And towards the latter part of Christ's ministry here on earth, they started using that hierarchy kind of thinking. They're like, okay, when you go, who's going to be in charge? And I like what he told them. To be a leader is not to be a master, is to be actually a servant, and being able to serve one another, acknowledge each other's gifts, acknowledge each other's talents, and see how these gifts and talents can actually work together for the greater good. And once we can see that, even in the teams and in the groups that we are leading, that everyone is coming in with their experience, with their skills and knowledge and talent. How can we merge that for the greater good? Even if I'm the leader, okay, maybe the vision that I had for my school community, or the vision that I had for the church, maybe was this way, but I may need to adjust here and there, so that we can actually have a greater impact. Because if it is only just things done my way, then I might find myself just leading myself. And John Maxwell likes to say, if you find yourself it's just you at the front and no one else behind you, then you're not leading, you're taking a walk. And we don't want to do that. So we want to acknowledge the people that are around us, the gifts and the talents they are bringing to the table, their expertise and actually being able to hear them out. And even when you as the leader is being corrected, so to speak, maybe because of a bad decision that you made, being able to listen and hear the other people's perspective helps actually the team grow, the organization grow, a community to grow, because you're listening to each other. It's not just this is my way, it's my way or the highway. Yeah, we are not in those kind of societies anymore, because now people have the opportunity to live and move on. If they say, okay, well, this environment is not suiting me, people leave jobs, people leave businesses, and move on to other things if the environment does not seem to suit them. So we have to be mindful of that, even in everything that we are building and doing.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And you kind of started to hint at it there, but taking this concept one step further into, for those who are leaders already or are considering taking a leadership position, what element, I guess I could pose it two different ways. What element does faith, a strong faith, bring to leadership? Or is it vice versa? What element does leadership bring to a strong faith?
Well, I think they're basically intertwined, because the faith aspect deals more with your moral compass. What motivates you? Yes, we're in business to make money, but that's not the end all be all kind of goal. Beyond that, because well, even when we exit this world, we are going to leave the money behind and the wealth behind. But leadership is more about leaving an impact. Which lives did you change while you were here, when you're occupying this space? And so faith in leadership helps you first. You have a moral compass for yourself that helps you not to deviate into some weird stuff and to make wrong decisions and to impact people's lives the wrong way. You know, because some things are irreversible. Some consequences are irreversible. If you cause someone to lose their home, or to lose their livelihood because of a decision you as a leader made, then you can go on living your life, but then you have messed up somebody else's, and generations beyond that. So we have to be mindful, and that's why I lean into my Christian faith, and use that as my compass. Yes, I want to achieve this in the world. Yes, I want to be a good leader, a great leader, but I need something that helps me to be centered, uh, and helps me to see, to have a greater wild view, so to speak.
Mm. Do you think Christ is a good example of a powerful leader, a good, effective leader in his life, or was his life something beyond that?
Um, that's a nice question. Many people, when Christ came along, had their perception of what they expected him to come and do. Um, they going back to the history of Israel, they had this anticipation of a Messiah, of a Savior, and with what they were going through in their history, from being conquered, being taken captive into foreign lands. So their anticipation for, or their idea for a Messiah, was someone who will come and rescue them and take them from these political and uh, economic entanglements that had surrounded them. And now when he came, he didn't fit their picture of a leader. So when he says, I am the Messiah, they're like, you don't really fit the mold. We expected you to come on top of the Roman government and say, okay, I'm here, I'm in charge. But he comes and serves. He goes and washes his disciples' feet. He goes and live and interact with people that people considered low lives, people that were neglected and outside society. So he kind of shifted the leadership paradigm, and he kept reminding his disciples, leadership is actually serving. When you're serving one another, you're leading. It's not about do what I'm telling you to do, but let's do whatever we are doing together. And so, yeah, his leadership style definitely was not something that they were expecting.
Yeah.
He was different from Caesar. He was different from Herod, because everyone else was do what I'm telling you to do and no questions asked. Jesus allowed people to ask him questions. He allowed his
Yeah.
own disciples to ask him questions. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a really powerful concept. I think, it's very regular for us to consider, I think, the relationship we have with God or with Christ as like a father-son or father-daughter, is like a parenthood relationship. But I also think we could think of it as a leadership relationship as well. And we could take a lot of that same insight and understanding and knowing from viewing it in that lens. And honestly, I don't know if you have kids or not, but any parent, I think we could all say that being a parent is one of the greatest experiences of leadership you'll ever have the opportunity to take on in your life. It's obviously a different relationship than like a leader on a corporate team, but there is a lot of leadership involved in parenting. And so I think, we could view our relationship with Christ and a lot of that through that same lens and gain quite a lot out of that. You talk about service, coming to serve first, asking the question, how can I help? How can I build my team up to be their very highest potential so that they can go out and be as effective in the world as they possibly can be? And you do that enough along the way, and eventually you get these gifts of loyalty, these gifts of trust, these gifts of understanding, and as those build up along the way, that allows you to be more and more and more effective as a leader. But it all starts with serving your people, building yourself up into the example you want to be, and then giving that person to the people on your team. And I think that's exactly what the life of Christ looked like. So I want to shift a little bit, actually, before we wrap things up, and I want to talk about specifically your book, Affirm Your Greatness, how it ties into your Skool community. And for anybody listening today, because these episodes, a lot of schoolers listen to these episodes, and so I'd like to give an idea for them. Like if somebody were to, well, I'll pose two questions. First of all, who is the ideal person you're looking to serve with your community? And then if somebody were to join or jump into your community, what would they expect to learn, how would they expect to grow?
Thank you for that question. When I initially thought of building the Skool, it was, as I said, tied to my book. But as I went through the whole setup process of like, I've actually changed the dynamics of the group, I think 3 or 4 times in the time that it has been in existence, because as I would interact with other Skool community or the owners, they will tell me, okay, the messaging in the about page is not clear enough. You may need to tweak this a little bit. And so, but I still wanted to maintain a faith-based background and not lose myself in the process, because I've seen communities on cooking and baking and mechanics. And so if they're able to thrive in that, how can I use my own lesson?
Thank you. Sorry about that.
No problem.
We're good now.
Yeah, so I actually shifted from the original messaging of my book. When I wrote it initially, it was more scientific, the power of rewiring your mind and positive thinking and changing how you speak to yourself, and now merging it to the faith. So when it comes to getting school members on board, majority of them have their own community, uh, as we see on the Skool platform. Most of them are leaders in their own right. So it's more a space of encouragement, a place where they get come and blow off their steam and express what the challenges they are facing, not only in their school communities but even in their day-to-day lives, and how we can help one another. And so in my community in particular, I post like scriptures and affirmations on a daily basis, and have people dialogue, and I pose a question at the end, and ask them, okay, how does this apply to you, or what can you use this in your day-to-day as you're going on with your business, with your work, with your school. And so it's a we have tried to create an environment that is inclusive, so to speak, a place where everyone has a voice, not just, it's not Dennis's community. Yes, I'm the one who built it, but I want also to hear from others, because I have a few community owners themselves. So to hear, okay, what has your experience been like? And how can we learn from one another? That's actually how I wound up, I believe, on your podcast, and on a few others. I do have another one scheduled for later on today, because listening to one another and gaining, learning from other people's experiences, helps us grow, not only as leaders but even as people in general. So faith-based space. You may be a non-believer or a new believer that is still, working their way in the faith aspect, but you have life experience, you have work experience, you have business experience that we can learn from one another. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, no, that's perfect, man. That's powerful. Because it sounds to me like you're not saying that, oh, you can only come into my community if you're a strong, devout believer in the faith and have followed for many years. You're meeting people where they are, saying whether you're a non-believer, whether you're a new believer, whether you've, been on your faith journey for 40 years, you're welcoming everybody where they are. And you're saying no matter where you are in life, no matter what you've been through, you have something great within you. And the point of your community, it seems, is for people to come in, maybe discover that greatness for the first time,
Yeah,
affirm that belief within themselves, and then learn to start leading themselves in that capacity, and then turn around to be able to give that to the world and everyone they're looking to serve. And maybe along the way, they'll discover a faith aspect of that will be added drive to that journey.
definitely.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome, man. I love that work.
definitely. Thank you.
Yeah. So, all right, Dennis. Well, dude, I appreciate you jumping on today, man. It's been great to learn about you, your journey. I particularly love your insights into leadership, and I can tell you're very well researched, very well studied in this aspect, because it's, as I said at the beginning, it's probably the most difficult skill we can learn as humans, but certainly one of the very most important. And even if you don't have a job title as a leader, you pretty much every person by default are a leader in some capacity. And even if you're not now, you will always have the opportunity to be. And so I think
Definitely.
it's such a universal, powerful human skill. So, dude, I appreciate you giving us your insight today, talking about your school community. Is there anything else you'd like to leave people with?
Uh, there is greatness in each and every one of us. Every one of us has inborn gifts and talents that we were born with. Some that we discovered early in life, but some that you come to discover like later on in life, into your adulthood. So I would like to encourage everyone that there is greatness in you. There are gifts and talents that God gave you, that He wants you to use them, not only just to better yourself, but to better the rest of mankind. So embrace your greatness. embrace your talents, embrace your African accent, and know that that yeah, because when I came here, the first few months, I will go to work and they're like, well, you do have an accent. I'm like, but so do you. People have accents from New York, from California, and now learning to accept that, and also learning how to adjust and be able to work together. So uh, let everyone embrace their greatness, their talents, and not look down on themselves and say, hey, the grass seems green on that other side, but you do have something of value to offer. It may not be as large as someone else's, but each and every one of us has a gift that the world needs from all of us. So let's cultivate that. Let's not leave this place people wondering why was this guy occupying space in the earth. Let's use those talents and opportunities to better the lives of others.
Man, I love that. I appreciate you closing with that because that was powerful. Guys, if you are watching and you made it this far, click the top link in the show notes and we will have a link to Dennis's Skool community platform, Affirm Your Greatness. If you feel like you've always had a call to greatness, if you know there's more within you, but you're kind of stuck in this negative cycle of life, check out his community. It is a place where you can go to not only to discover your greatness, but to affirm it within yourself and then help give it to others. So check out his Skool community, jump in there and join it to learn more from him today. And if you like to hear these episodes with thought leaders, creators on the Skool platform, then jump into the Orion Collective. That's our free Skool community with Impossible Performance. It is 100% free, always will be free. There will never be a charge. It's a space for us to ask the hardest questions in life, to be able to dive into some of these really deep, challenging topics and have good, meaningful, productive conversation. So jump in there. It's free to join and you'll get to hear all sorts of conversations just like we've had with Dennis today. Outside of that, guys, if you are a creator looking to grow at your highest potential, please check out the third link in the description, which will be for AAA Fair Benefit. This is a brand new creator hub, a space full of tools like budgeting, goal analysis, invoicing. There's a new marketing and SEO tool, which will literally do your SEO for you. All of this is 100% free. It's a powerful new platform getting built by Scott Gerard himself. And he's just really wanting to make a space where creators can grow and build and earn at their highest potential possible. So check out AAA Fair Benefit. And with that, guys, I think we're going to wrap it up here. But thank you, Dennis, for coming on today. I really appreciate you being here. Thank you all for listening and watching this episode. And as always, be impossible. Thanks for being here, Dennis.
Thank you, Madhu. Thanks for having me.